The modern ethos surrounding the topic of providence and the existence of God is shrouded in both cynicism and criticism, to the point where religious belief and theological discussions are discredited and prescribed as being akin to taking fairy tales seriously. Although I must mention that this does not bother me, because I deeply understand the importance of such tales and their place in philosophical discourse, but I digress. It's extremely apparent to everyone that we live in an age of such immense scientific and technological progress that the very existence of a higher being is put into serious question. Now, I think it's important to state that my goal is not to convert atheists into believers with this video. Instead, I see this dilemma as a perfect opportunity to explore the other side of the argument and to perhaps reconcile the two perspectives. As you'll soon come to understand is the natural order of things that underlie the greatness of Western civilization. So today, we call upon the history and philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas in order to achieve a better understanding of why a belief in God is so widespread amongst humankind. But before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe for more enlightening videos and to help my channel grow. So without further ado, let's get into it. In modern times, we consider the church and religion as a whole as being a completely separate domain from the world of academia and scientific research, but this is actually a rather recent phenomenon. When it comes to the progression of the Western world, we have the Catholic Church and Judeo-Christian beliefs in general to thank. Many of the most fundamental behavioral elements that assist the flow of modern society that we often take for granted are based on Judeo-Christian presuppositions. For example, the sanctity of life and the sovereignty of the individual stem from Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 that says both men and women are created in the image of God. Furthermore, in the first verse of the Bible, God creates the world and thereby sets in motion the concept of natural order, a world that we as beings created in the image of God must exist within and are capable of understanding. After the widespread conversion of Europe to Christianity, it's no coincidence that this triggered the scientific revolution, spearheaded by the goal of understanding God's world to the fullest for the benefit of all mankind. Also, the elevated importance of the Holy Bible contributed to the necessity of the ability to read and to become educated. And to become educated, you were referred to the dominant institution of the West, which for 1,000 years was the monastery, where learning, research, philosophical contemplation, the transmission of ancient culture, and much more occurred. It's these monasteries in which some of the greatest minds in history came to study and cultivate their intellect, minds such as that of Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas was the son of Landulf, Count of Aquino, and was born in 1225 in Roccasecca in the Kingdom of Sicily. Although Thomas's family members were descendants of Emperors Frederick I and Henry VI, they were considered to be of lower nobility. Before Thomas Aquinas was born, a holy hermit shared a prediction with his mother, foretelling her that her son would enter the order of the Friars Preachers, become a great learner, and achieve unequaled sanctity. Growing up, Thomas was described as being a witty child, one who had received a good soul, and was always one to pose deep questions concerning the existence of God. In his years of schooling, he studied the great Greek philosophers and was particularly fond of Aristotle. And in 1243, he secretly joined an order of the Dominican monks. When his family found out, they felt so betrayed that he had turned their backs on their initial wishes that they decided to kidnap him. Thomas's family held him captive for an entire year, imprisoned in the fortress of San Giovanni at Roccasecca. During this time, they attempted to deprogram him of his new beliefs, but he held tightly onto his ideas that he learned at the university and ended up going back to the Dominican order following his release in 1245. Going forward, Thomas went on to be an accomplished scholar and a devout monk, penning many renowned and revered texts that still have influence today. His work stemmed from his solid belief that faith could guide reason by preventing it from making moral mistakes, and that reason could clarify and demystify faith. His most popular philosophy, found in his book titled Summa Theologica, is his 5 proofs of God, in which I will be summarizing going forward. Number 1 is argument from motion. By using our natural senses, we can observe that there are things in motion. A baby boy grows into a man, a seed becomes a beautiful flower, and the sun rises only to recede back into the horizon from which it ascended. In observation, we are beholding the process of actuality, while the potentiality of it is remiss. Nothing can be both in potentiality and actuality at the same time, for obvious reasons. Potentiality must be summoned into actuality. Therefore, nothing can be moved without there being a mover. Additionally, sequences of motion don't extend on and on forever. They appear to serve their purpose and destiny before they end or repeat. Therefore, it's logical to arrive at a first mover, put in motion by no other, and this is what is known as God. Number 2 is argument from efficient causes. It's apparent that nothing exists prior to itself, and therefore nothing that we perceive is the efficient cause of itself. If a cause doesn't exist, then neither does the result. Therefore, if the first thing in a series doesn't exist, then the series itself doesn't exist. Also, there's nothing that we can point to that extends forever into the past. There's always a beginning point, and that point is always laden with mystery. It seems as though nothing besides humans, as demonstrated through our creations, are able to convert potentiality into actuality besides the universe itself, hence why we are considered to be made in God's image. Therefore, it makes sense that there would be a first efficient cause, and this is what we would call God. Number 3 is argument from possibility and necessity. In nature, we see things that are able to be and things that are not able to be. There are things that come into being and then go out of being. Let's assume for a moment that everything is a contingent being. For a contingent being, there is a time that it does not exist, and at that time, there is nothing to bring it into existence. Hence, without there being a middleman, nothing should exist in the first place, but rather absurdly, some things do exist. Therefore, there's something out there that exists based on pure necessity and isn't a creation of another being, and this is what we refer to as God. Number 4 is argument from the gradation of being. There's a gradation to be found in things. For example, a thing is capable of being better or worse. The predictions of degree are based on the utmost case. For example, we judge and refer to a cold day based on how cold it is in comparison to the coldest it can be. Furthermore, the maximum of, anything is the cause of all the variation in what is being referred to. For example, the temperature on Earth is based on our proximity to the sun. If the sun was to spontaneously vanish, the surface of Earth would default on the default temperature of space, which happens to be very cold. The coldest it can be on the surface of the Earth is the temperature of the space surrounding us. Therefore, there must be something which is to all beings the cause of their being and the gradation of being. This is what we know to be God. Lastly is number 5, which is the argument from design. We observe that all living things work towards a goal and do not do so by chance, but most living things lack intelligence and reasoning capabilities. But as a gun reaches its target from the help of someone intelligent, what lacks intelligence achieves its goal by being directed by someone intelligent. Therefore, it seems logical that some intelligent being exists who directs all natural things towards their purpose and end. This intelligent being is what we would call God. Now, despite the logical nature of these arguments, there is essentially no empirical evidence that there indeed is a God, meaning that there is no mathematical equation to be found that pinpoints and validates these beliefs. Despite this fact, those that believe in God do so due to the fact that the concept of mathematics even exists in the first place. To them, math is comparable to reading and observing the coding of a program or a video game. On the other hand, it's worthy to note that it's ridiculous to assume that everyone needs to believe in a God to be moral or to function in daily life. It's simply not true. We are programmed by society and the law, which actually happens to be based on these very Judeo-Christian presuppositions. Furthermore, there are some people who are very high in openness who refuse to give up on the tools of reasoning and contemplation even when the trail of empiricism runs out. This is what we would call the educated believer. And if you're an atheist, hopefully by watching this video, you're relieved of your belief that all people who choose to believe in God are simply just idiots. But that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and added the knowledge to your own philosophical lexicon. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.